Coming up, protesters demanding higher wages march at a nearby McDonald's. We hear some of their concerns.
Then, President Trump released the 2019 United States budget. We take a look at how infrastructure spending fits into it.
And USC's Department of Public Safety is targeting underage drinking. We see what a USC student and DPS Chief Carlisle have to say about it.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
Protesters flooded the streets near USC today, one group demanding higher wages and the other fighting to stay in their homes. Dozens of tenants say they are being evicted from a building near Exposition in Vermont. Good evening, I'm Addie Stafford.
And I'm Lauren Floyd. Another group marched in a Fight for 15 protest that started on Figueroa. Annenberg Media's Suji Nam shows us what they're demanding.
Workers are fighting for $15, but they're demanding more. Hundreds of activists want not only a union, but also benefits, including more sick days. The Fight for 15 march started at the McDonald's near USC.
I'm not nervous now. Our backs aren't bent. Let's make the bosses nervous.
Protesters say that they're stuck in poverty.
My mother, I grew up seeing her as a single mom, ill, working for fast food for 20 plus years. She wasn't getting her sick days. She doesn't get health care. She doesn't have a union.
Sometimes I don't have enough money to buy them stuff because I have 3 kids of my own and I'm a single mother. So it's kind of hard.
The current California minimum wage is $12. It will increase to $15 by 2020. A School of Public Policy professor here at USC explains what this could mean for businesses.
If businesses cannot afford to pay this, they're going to have to look for other ways of either not hiring enough people or mechanizing. I mean, look, in today's world, it's not that difficult to put an iPad and get orders instead of having a server take your orders.
We reached out to McDonald's, but no one responded to a request for a comment.
Well, today's march is more than just a fight against McDonald's employers. It is a fight for improved living conditions and better labor rights.
I don't want to be there no more. I want to look for another job. Sometimes I try to look for another job, but nobody's hiring. They say they're hiring, but they're not.
This is a fight far from over. For Annenberg Media, I'm Suji Nam.
Among the Figueroa protesters today were some tenants from a nearby apartment building on Exposition. This past October, the building's new owners gave the 80 residents just 3 months to move out. But most of them say they have nowhere to go.
We're not going anywhere. You hear what they're saying? And hell no, we're not going to go. We're going to fight this. We've earned this. We've lived this. You know, you don't do that to anyone.
Angeletta Champion is protesting to keep a roof over her head. She says the new landlords of their apartment are trying to evict all residents. Champion and the rest of the tenants still living in the building teamed up with the LA Tenants Union to fight back.
They want to be able to stay in their homes with reasonable rents and to be able to live where they've lived for 7 years, for 13 years, for all these years. USC is directly complicit in these evictions, even though that it's a private landlord doing it, is because USC has been expanding in this area.
LA Tenants says USC is constructing a new building on Exposition right next to the tenants who are being evicted. Langto says the residents want to negotiate with the new landlords. They also want to stop USC from expanding and encourage the school to contribute to the community. We reached out to USC Media Relations and a spokesperson said he is not familiar with the building in question. Annenberg Media tried to contact the landlords, but were unable to get a response. Now let's turn to what's going on in Washington. President Trump released his proposed 2019 budget today.
Our political correspondent, Kaylee Wells, runs us through the latest. Kaylee?
Thanks, Lauren and Addie. The theme of President Trump's 2019 budget is more spending and less revenue. The biggest increase is in defense spending, which will include $18 billion for the border wall. He will also increase veteran spending. Spending cuts will come from programs like Medicaid, food stamps, the Environmental Protection Agency, and several other domestic programs. But the big tax cut that went through at the end of last year will mean $550 billion less in tax revenue. That will put a big strain on the annual deficit. If Trump's budget passed, the U.S. debt would increase from $20 trillion to $30 trillion by 2027.
This morning, I submitted legislative principles to Congress that will spur the biggest and boldest infrastructure investment in American history. The framework will generate an unprecedented $1.5 to $1.7 trillion investment in American infrastructure. We're going to have a lot of public-private, and that way it gets done on time, on budget.
That public-private means devoting $200 billion of the federal budget, with the rest of that $1.5 trillion coming from state and local governments and private groups. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti released a response to Trump's infrastructure budget, saying, quote, "Any federal plan must expand real dollars and not increase the burden on local government to pick up the slack when Washington won't lead. I will be advocating on Capitol Hill for a real plan with real results and a fair share from the federal government." Now, this budget request needs congressional approval before it's official. But like most proposals in Washington with this administration, it's unlikely it will go through without some big changes. Today, the White House defended Trump's support of his former staff secretary, Rob Porter, who was accused of domestic violence. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders says Trump believes that allegations need to be thoroughly investigated. In a tweet this weekend, the president said, quote, "People's lives are being shattered and destroyed by a mere allegation. Some are true and some are false. Some are old and some are new. There is no recovery for someone falsely accused. Life and career are gone. Is there no such thing any longer as due process?" Trump also sent the Democratic memo back to the House Intelligence Committee over the weekend. This comes after the GOP released a controversial memo alleging abuse in the FBI. USC professor and political communication expert Tom Holohan says accepting one and rejecting the other doesn't look good for Trump.
When Trump allows the Republican memo to be released over the strong objection of the intelligence community, and then tries to stop the Democratic memo so that it gets rewritten because of objections from that community, I think it shows precisely how political this has become.
Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein are two journalists famous for their coverage of Nixon's Watergate scandal. They released a statement saying, quote, "We're here again. A powerful and determined president is squaring off against an independent investigator. President Donald Trump insists it's all a witch hunt and an unfair examination of his family's personal finances. We covered that eerily similar confrontation for the Washington Post 45 years ago." That's what's happening on the Hill. Back to you, Lauren and Addie.
Thanks, Kaylee. Tonight, DPS is clarifying why students may be stopped for suspicion of underage drinking. We talk with one student who was stopped on the row after leaving a party.
They needed to check our IDs and our student IDs to make sure that we are actually over 21. So, I understand why DPS is wanting to crack down on underage drinking, but at the same time, I think that they probably need to reinforce policies of when you can actually stop a student. I don't want to feel like I'm going to be called out just because I have a wristband on.
Assistant Deputy Carlisle wants to let students know that each situation is going to be different, but he says officers will stop and question students when they appear drunk or unstable.
It's not cut and dry. There's no set formula. It's the totality of the circumstance in each instance. So I wouldn't say step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. If you see these things, you have the authority to detain.
In every instance, Carlisle says officers want to ensure the safety of all students.
Today, Mayor Eric Garcetti launched the Evolve Entertainment Fund in partnership with filmmaker Ava DuVernay and producer Dan Lin. The program aims to boost diversity and is backed by some of Hollywood's most prominent leaders, including Netflix and HBO. I spoke with USC film student Carla Luna Cantu about the new initiative.
Something as big as this is necessary because these are companies that are huge and that have a lot of power in the film industry, so it's really exciting to see that something big is about to happen because, the change that we need right now it's a big change.
The initiative focuses on student outreach through internships and educational programs for underserved Los Angeles youth. Some of the partners for the fund include Amazon Studios, BuzzFeed, Vice, and Warner Brothers. Today, the NAACP turns 109 years old. The organization is the oldest and largest known civil rights group in the nation. The NAACP tweeted today, quote, "Our founders saw a need and created something groundbreaking in 1909. We are forever grateful for their sacrifice and leadership." The vision of the NAACP is to ensure a society in which all individuals have equal rights without discrimination based on race. Hashtag Founders Week. Our nation has come a long way since the founding of the NAACP, but USC student Ijoma Oti says we still have a long way to go.
We're seeing some of the same issues. We're seeing same types of voter suppression laws that we saw even post-Reconstruction, and we're still fighting the same battles of equality and equity. But I think they would be very proud of the accomplishments of the organization as a whole and the movement that we've seen of like Black individuals within the nation.
Several civil rights groups, politicians, and NAACP chapters have been wishing the organization a happy birthday on Twitter.
Next up, we sat down with the Washington Post's editor to talk about free speech.
Levy's 4th floor will be transformed into office spaces. We talked to a student and librarian about the lost study space.
This Friday marks the start of the widely recognized Lunar New Year. Students tell us how they celebrate.
Recently, our country has witnessed catastrophic devastation. Hurricanes and flooding have upended lives and livelihoods.
Across this great country, Americans have answered the call.
That special calling that compels us, when others are down, to step up and do whatever it takes.
America's at her best when, against all odds, we come together and lift each other up.
Please donate to oneamericaappeal.org. America needs you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listened.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably going to turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Visions and Voices hosted a panel on free speech this afternoon with Martin Barron, the editor-in-chief of the Washington Post. Other panelists included Participant Media CEO David Lind and Soul Pancake CEO Shabna Mogharabi. Before the event, we spoke to Barron about the importance of free speech in the digital age and how it acts as a check and balance for everyone.
The reason that we have a First Amendment was articulated by the founder, James Madison, about examining public characters and measures, is how he put it. And that's what we do. We examine the public character, in this instance the President of the United States, but also other politicians and other individuals, and their measures, which are their policies. This is called for in the Constitution. It's what the founders wanted of us. The First Amendment is not just a statement of principle, it's also a call to action.
The event took place in the Wallace Annenberg Hall. Frederick Lawrence, an expert in free speech law, moderated the panel.
USC is converting the 4th floor of Levy Library to office space, which means no more studying there for students. The library near McCarthy Quad has completely closed the 4th floor for the remainder of the year. Although Levy has temporarily lost some study space, students still have plenty of other options around campus.
I mean, it's a bummer because it is a pretty good study spot, nice and quiet, but, you know, USC has a lot of options, so, you know, I'm not too worried because there's Doheny and there's a bunch of other libraries and spots to study.
Our hope is that it won't affect it too much because we are making spaces available in other areas of the library to accommodate the spaces that will be lost from losing the 4th floor.
The 4th floor of Levy will reopen in the fall with office space for the USC Shoah Foundation.
Santa Barbara County is expecting rain starting this week. Only about ½ an inch is expected to fall, but officials have asked people in the area to sign up for emergency alerts. Last month, heavy rain caused mudslides that killed 21 people, destroyed dozens of homes, and shut down part of the 101 freeway. But despite this week's expected rain, officials said public evacuations are unlikely. Now, after all that talk of rain, I'm happy we didn't have any this weekend, but I wonder what's coming up this week.
Yeah, it is cooling off. We might see some more rain in the forecast. Let's take it to Anissa.
Yeah, ladies, so if you had a chance to step outside, it was pretty cold today and it's only going to get cooler. Right now, it's 57 degrees with a humidity of 57%. Now for tomorrow, we'll see that the Inland Empire, Palm Springs, will have 66 degrees, Big Bear 36 degrees, maybe snow, and Riverside, my hometown, will be 63 degrees, so it'll be a cool day for them. Now as we go towards the valley, we'll see that Simi Valley is 60 degrees, Thousand Oaks is 60 degrees as well, and Malibu 59 degrees. Now if we see here, right here at USC, it'll be 61 degrees, Pasadena 60, and LAX 60 degrees. Now, your 5-day forecast. Tuesday, it'll be 63 degrees, kind of cloudy. Wednesday, the same, and it'll start to warm up Thursday and Friday, 69 and getting all the way to 75 degrees. Now, recently, LA weather has fluctuated in temperature and is now showing early signs of a possible drought. Today, I spoke with USC climate experts to discuss current La Niña conditions and the lack of rain in California.
Normally, by this time of the year, there are a lot more storms that bring water to California, and much more changing weather, and we haven't seen that. Again, I think it was related to this high pressure system deflecting storms off of our area in Southern California, and so it's allowed fairly dry, hot conditions to persist for an unusual time.
Last year was a very rainy year, moderately rainy year. We had about 1.5 times our normal rainfall. But the previous 3 or 4 years were all drought years. This one is looking like it's going to be another drought year.
Now, over the weekend, there were reports of possible rain here in LA this week. But due to this high pressure center off the coast, the possibility of showers is not likely.
That's too bad. We really need it.
Yeah, we definitely do. So we'll have to hold up the rain boots for now.
Yeah, I'm not complaining that there's no rain, but I understand that California needs it. We got to get rid of this drought, and the drought's such a cycle: dry to wet, dry to wet. So hopefully we'll get some rain. We'll see.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Anissa. Yeah. Well, in other news, this Friday is the Lunar New Year, marking the beginning of the Year of the Dog. It's celebrated across the globe, including in Singapore, Malaysia, and right here at USC. The New Year has been celebrated for hundreds of years, and many USC students will be celebrating. We talked to 2 students who mark the New Year in different ways.
For me, it was always very much a family holiday. My favorite part as a child was always wishing my elders their New Year's blessings. The elders would give children little red envelopes full of lucky money.
Basically, in China, we see that as a family reunion time. It's time for us to share all our happiness and stuff about the past year and moving on to the next year.
The USC Chinese Student Association will be hosting a Lunar New Year show open to the community this Sunday at 7 p.m. at Bovard Auditorium. So now I want to hear a little bit about the Winter Olympics. Do we have any USC alums?
I hear there's a skier to take note of.
There is. She just skied yesterday, and so tonight we take a look at how the only Trojan in the Winter Olympics did this past weekend. And women's basketball had a strong weekend themselves, sweeping the Arizona schools at the Galen Center.
We weren't really planning on breaking the world record. It was more just to get the win.
You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home just in case. Why would you do that?
Probably okay isn't okay. Call a cab, a car, or a friend.
Good choice.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new
lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Mary Paige Nesvetter here with Sarah McGrew, and we've got an exciting track and field update from last weekend's Clemson Tiger Paw Invitational in South Carolina.
That's right, Mary Paige. It was a record-breaking weekend for the USC men's 4x400 meter relay team. Ricky Morgan Jr., Ray Benjamin, Michael Norman, and Zach Shinnick broke the collegiate and IAAF world record with a time of 3:01.98. I caught up with Ricky and Ray to talk about their monumental moments.
I mean, this is what I've been waiting for. You know, this is what I came to SC for, because we have a rich history of 4x4 and quarter milers. So to be able to do that and do it on our first race as a team, you know, that was just phenomenal.
Like, we have like one more meet, and I think when we get back on the track again, it'll probably be pretty special. So, I mean, the sky's the limit. Who knows? We might probably go under 3 minutes this time, but we'll see.
And now that just absolutely blows my mind that it was these guys' first time racing together.
I know, it's incredible, right? The first time, and they break a world record.
And chemistry is just such a big team with the relay, and I mean, you couldn't tell with them.
Nope, you definitely couldn't.
Well, it wasn't just the men's 4x4 who had an impressive weekend. The women's 4x4 relay also won their event with a 4.5-second victory, just half a second away from the collegiate record.
And USC had some individual winners as well. Randall Cunningham won the men's high jump. He finished just short of a personal best, jumping 7 feet 5 inches. Deanna Hill won the 200-meter dash with a facility record of 22.82 seconds. There were 4 other Trojans that placed first in their events. It was a victorious weekend on the track, but also on the court, right, Mary Paige?
Absolutely. Women's basketball came out strong against the Arizona schools this weekend, sweeping number 25 Arizona State and Arizona. Senior captain Sadie Edwards chipped in double-digit baskets, scoring 11 points against ASU and 23 points against Arizona. Sophomore guard Mignon Moore added a double-double against ASU on Friday and was just shy of a triple-double on Sunday against the Wildcats. The team heads to Oregon next weekend, and head coach Mark Track says he has confidence in his players.
They know better than me because they did it last year. So I'm going to ask them. How'd you beat Oregon State in front of 6,000 people? And they're going to tell me, and I'm going to say, you're going to do the same exact thing. Okay, so that's they know. They've done it last year, so that's what we're going to rely on.
Now, unfortunately, the men's team struggled against the Arizona schools over the weekend. They lost on Thursday to Arizona State 80-78, and again on Saturday against Arizona 81-67. The Trojans have now lost 3 in a row and fall to 3rd in the Pac-12 behind Arizona and UCLA. The men will take the court again this weekend at the Galen Center, playing Oregon on Thursday and Oregon State on Saturday. The Trojans beat both the Oregon teams in their last meetup. Men's tennis earned a pair of victories at home this past weekend. The number 8 ranked Trojans topped UC Irvine and University of San Francisco on Saturday. The Trojans easily took a 5-2 win over the Anteaters. Against the Dons, the Trojans fell behind earlier, but a comeback effort from senior Henry G pushed the Trojans to a 5-2 win. The win puts the Trojans in a good spot for the upcoming ITA National Team Indoor Championships in Seattle, which start on February 16th. Now to the pool, the number 2 women's water polo team came out victorious at the Triton Invitational, winning the tournament for the 5th straight year. The women of Troy beat rival UCLA in the final match 6-4. Senior Brianna DeBow and freshman Paige Hochschild each added 2 goals against crosstown rival UCLA. The team's wins this weekend bring them to 7-0 overall, protecting their undefeated season. And jumping from the pool to the slopes, USC alum Junghwa Seo represented the Trojans at the Pyeongchang Olympics yesterday. Seo competed in women's moguls freestyle skiing for the 3rd time. Seo has been one of South Korea's top skiers in recent years, finishing 21st in the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. She came back 4 years later to finish 24th in Sochi and has officially earned her best finish ever in yesterday's competition, taking 14th place. And now all this talk of sports is making me pretty hungry. Well, luckily good food isn't far away. Our very own Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum has been named to a list of 20 best stadium foods by USA Today. The Lobsterdamus lobster nachos sold at the stadium are among famed foods from parks like Wrigley and Fenway. You can vote online for your favorite winner, and the winner will be announced on March 9th.
Are you a big fish person?
Personally, I love fish. You could put lobster on anything and I would probably eat it, so I am down to try these nachos.
But for me, fish at like a sports event, I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest.
Lobster.
It's lobster. It's
like
a delicacy.
you know? Well, I don't know. I prefer hot dogs, burgers, that kind of thing.
All right.
Well,
Well, it's worth a try, I think.
Well, thanks so much, Mary Paige.
Barack and Michelle Obama will be the first African-American couple to have their portraits in an iconic gallery.
We'll hear what the former First Lady had to say about it.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be?
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Portraits of former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle were unveiled today at the National Portrait Gallery. They are the first African-American presidential couple to be enshrined in the collection. The paintings of the former first couple will be on view at the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery with portraits of past presidents. Michelle Obama had a special message for today for young people of color.
I'm also thinking about all of the young people, particularly girls and girls of color, who in years ahead will come to this place and they will look up and they will see an image of someone who looks like them hanging on the wall of this great American institution.
The new portraits will be available for the public to see starting tomorrow.
The happiest place on earth just got more expensive. Today, higher prices for one-day and annual pass tickets are in effect at U.S. Disneyland Resort locations. At the Anaheim location, guests can expect to see an 18% increase in annual pass prices and a 9% increase in one-day tickets. A one-day adult pass will now range in price from $97 on low-demand days to $135 on high-demand days. I mean, that's a little bit ridiculous. I love Disneyland, and now it's too expensive for me to go.
You can't even take a family trip
hate
there.
to see that. Well, thanks for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Addie Stafford.
And I'm Lauren Floyd. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night.